Hey guys, mcfixit here. We have a 2011 Rav4 that we're going to be doing an oil change on today. And so we're going to walk through all the tools, the supplies, the techniques on how to do this. It is a bit different. It does have a different type of oil filter than most, but this is just your basic Rav4 2.5. And so it will work for years before and after this as well. Here are the tools and supplies you're going to need for this. There's a jack and jack stand not pictured and a piece of cardboard that I lay on, but everything else here is pictured. We have the oil pan. It uses a 5W20 or 0W20, your choice. I have another vehicle that does 5W20, so I'm just using the same. It does give you that option. We're going to be using a Fram Tough Guard TG9972, and it does come with the little filter to get the oil out of the filter and two different O-rings. And this is a much different filter than a lot of vehicles. It is not a can filter, it is an actual filter. So a little different technique we'll have to use, including a specialty tool. This works for a lot of different Honda or Toyotas, and so there's a whole list. I'll have a link for this in the description. You're going to want a pick probably to help get out some of the O-rings. Sometimes they can be a bear to get out. You'll also want something that you can torque down. There is specific torque that you do have to have this at. Just a regular ratchet. I do like about a 6-inch extension. You probably could get away with a 3, or if you had some kind of swivel on your socket, then we use a 14mm. I do put a piece of tape and do mark it Rav4 because then I know exactly what to go back to in the future. Have plenty of towels and rags available as well to kind of clean this out. And you normally can take the oil back to wherever you bought it from. I normally try to get mine at a place that I know I can return the used oil to, so that's important as well. Most of the time they don't charge you depending on your area, so that's good to have that knowledge as well. So the first step is go and get your door open. I do have some tools and stuff set up just to make it a little bit more convenient. Then we'll go ahead and show you where to pop the hood at. Which is right there. And we will put the emergency brake on as well. You just pull up on that. And then go ahead and have a block underneath. My driveway slopes this direction, so that's a good thing to have. Then we'll go ahead and get the hood open on the vehicle. So just to the right of center is the hood release. Go ahead and grab the prop, and the prop goes right there. And just to look at your engine, right here is where it does say the types of oil, 5W20 or 0W20. I like to go ahead and remove this cap. It does help sometimes make the oil go down a bit quicker. The next thing is to jack up your car and also make sure you have the jack stands properly in place. So the spot this is getting jacked up is smaller than my actual jack stand. So I did put a little bit of a block on there, and so I will pump it up. It will hit a little bit of the plastic, but it's not gonna hurt it. Remember to make sure you got the back wheel blocked and you have your emergency brake on. And to give you the best angle, I am going to lift this up maybe a little higher than what you would probably do, but just give you a better camera angle underneath on exactly what we're doing. And then we'll go ahead and put on the jack stands. And a lot of people will want to put the jack stands right here. I actually like to put it on the actual frame itself. So right there's one. And right there's the second, and then we'll lower the car back down. So right here is what I was talking about earlier. This is where we jacked up the vehicle at. Right here is your oil filter. Then right down here is your oil plug. That's the first thing we're going to take off. That is a 14 millimeter. I do like to have my oil pan about just below it, but also so it can have the opportunity to flow. Also make sure to have some rags nearby. That was super loose. I like to put my index finger on it and spin the rest of it, so then when I'm ready, make sure your oil pan is probably a little bit out of camera, but it's really close. I then just pull it straight out and down. That was not very clean, sorry, but it doesn't matter. You caught it, that's the main thing. And so I like to have those towels right next to it. Go ahead and clean it up nice. It does look like there's a crush washer on here. Right there, you can see it. Don't lose that. This one looks like it's in good shape, so I probably won't replace it, but you could if you needed to. If it's all dinged and bent up, you can go ahead and replace that. They're not very expensive. You may have to go to Toyota. You might be able to find it at an auto parts store as well. And so you're just going to let that drain. It will take a minute or two to drain. And make sure you got towels around to wipe up anything you messed up. Any little bit of drips, that's good to do. Okay, we'll go ahead and start moving on. Now that that's just a little bit of a drip, we'll go ahead and move on over and get this out right here. This is going to be the hardest part of the whole thing, because this is just a different type of filter. Make sure your oil pan is underneath to catch any potential oil. Make sure you save onto that, put it in a safe place. So as you can see, it can still drip down in there. And then we're gonna get to this filter. You can go ahead and take off your 14 millimeter and get a 3-inch extension. And again, in reverse. And you do want to make sure that your catch pan is underneath. And as you begin to spin that off, you can just do it by hand after you get it started. Put your hand underneath it so when it does drop, it drops right in just like that. You can take that same paper towel and go ahead and begin to clean that off. Inside your little package will come with one of these little clear spouts, and you can go ahead and put that up in there. Now this, I would recommend not having your hand underneath, because if it does it right, it will begin to, and it did, it's going to start to drain out your filter. And this does take a little bit of time, so go ahead and let it drain all the way out, or else the whole thing spills down. Now I will have a video up in the description, or down in the description and up on a card right now. If this doesn't come off that easy, I have had to kind of jimmy it off of there with a vise, and I'll show you exactly how to do that. That video may take a little bit more time to upload, so if this just popped up in your feed, that may not be ready yet, but I will have that up there as soon as possible. And then once it gets to this point, you can go ahead and remove that back off. And I like to just go ahead and throw it in my empty box, and we'll discard of that properly later. The next thing you're going to need is this tool right here, and this tool will go right on that 3-inch extension. Now the thing is, you gotta line it up properly with these, and so it may take a little bit of finagling to get it to where it needs to go. And then once you get it where it goes, you go ahead and begin to twist that off. And this is just plastic, so take your time. Now the little device is metal, but the filter is actually plastic on the outside, and so you do have to be very careful. And you'll get to the point where it'll kind of just want to fall out. Go ahead and take off your tool. And it does have some way you can kind of spin it by hand. It's got a little bit of grooves, and so just continue to do that. Make sure your pan is directly underneath, because there is still oil that spills out. And I'll go ahead and just set that in there and continue to let that drip all the rest of that out. And don't forget, you have these 2 O-rings. We are going to use those in just 1 second. You can go ahead and pull out your filter. And that will come straight out of there just like that. And you'll see how dirty and nasty it is. So this is where you're going to go ahead and use your pick. And you are going to have to pick the O-ring out of here. So that's 1 O-ring straight out the front. Then on where it twists around is another O-ring, and you'll just kind of pick that one up and pull it off as well. Make sure you use a new one each time. The other thing is this O-ring is going to go here. It does not go all the way down to the bottom. So as you begin to put this one on, and sometimes it's a little hard because it's got quite a bit of oil still on it, you just keep pushing down until it fits in this seam right here. Don't put it all the way down. You will have an oil leak. Then you'll come back to this side. We'll get that small one, and you're just going to press it in to place. So for this one, you're just going to begin to press it into place, and it always seems like it's a little too big, but it will go in eventually. Multiple fingers around it, get it to go in just like that. And so again, you have this one right here and this one right here. It's super important. Then you can go ahead and put your filter in just like so, and it will kind of snap in just like it did there. That's exactly what we want it to do. Some people fill this up with oil. You're gonna fill it up with oil naturally anyways, so I don't see a real big point in doing that. Again, that's optional if you want to go ahead and fill this up with a little bit of oil, but I don't want it to leak on me, so I'm just gonna go ahead and begin to put it in by hand. And so you want to make sure you are super lined up there, which at my angle it is very hard to see. So hopefully you have a little better angle than I do as you begin to turn this into place. And I just go barely hand tight because it is 18 foot-pounds of torque. So you'll go ahead and put this little guy back on. You'll have to line it up properly. And 18 foot-pounds is not a whole lot, so you do want to be very careful in how you do this, and hopefully it doesn't jump off like it did there. And so I'm just putting just a touch of pressure with my left hand as I'm tightening this down. And so when I was talking about hand tied, I mean like it should be more finger tied, I guess, because I was just barely pressing it on there. This has some oil on it, so it is starting to not like to stay in place. Okay, right there, did you hear that? It clicked. That's all you need. It might seem kind of crazy, like that's not much. That's okay. It's not supposed to be much. That is what happens a lot of times when you take these in. They tighten them down too tight at different quick oil lube places. The next one, you're going to go ahead and take it and put it to 30 foot-pounds of torque, which is right there. And you're going to put your nut back on by hand. It's not really a nut, but it kind of is. bolt, kind of, I guess. And I do know there are more and more places that are not doing these. My aunt tried to take a vehicle in that has this, and the place, I think it was Meineke or something, said that they don't do this anymore because they don't have the right tools. Probably this thing right here, which is kind of weird because most Toyotas have that. Then don't forget, you still have that bolt in the back, so if you would start filling it up with oil right now, you'd be leaking everywhere. So I just scoot that back a little so I had a little bit better access. Go ahead and spin that on by hand to get it finger tight. And I like to do a little cleanup right now just to make sure everything's looking and feeling good. And this I'm just gonna go to hand tight, and then 1, 2 little extra just to make sure. And then go ahead and wipe everything back down again just to make sure you didn't miss anything. That will just help you know if you do have any kind of oil leak, that once it's wiped up, you should be pretty good to tell in the future. But that is how you go ahead and change this out. Again, if it gets stuck, I did create that video. It's in the description, that you will have the ability to hopefully find a way to get it and hopefully not break this piece of plastic. If not, you have to go back to Toyota. They normally have them in stock because there's quite a few of them that have issues with this, but you will have to go back and get an OEM part from Toyota. So here is the oil information. It is the 2.5 4-cylinder, so it is 4.2 quarts, and so it's just a little bit less, obviously, than the 5-quart jug that I bought, but that's okay. So we'll go ahead and try to put about 4 quarts in and then go ahead and test it. So I like to use a funnel and make sure your funnel is put in properly. I'm not sponsored by Valvoline, but I do like their new pour tops. They do really help make it much more accurate. They have a nice little lip right here that allows it to pour in very easily. And so just go slow, take your time. So there is marks on this, so that is where the 4-quart line is. And so we got a little bit more to go. So that's just at 4 quarts. So I'm going to put just a touch more in. And then go ahead and cap that off. I do try to use fresh paper towels for this, or fresh whatever, cloth rags, old t-shirts. We'll go ahead and clean that off. Go ahead and put the cap back on. And then we will check the oil. So it's the yellow dipstick. And so clean it off once. Put it back down in, and then pull it back out. And that's showing up just about 3/4 of the way up, which is about where I like to do it. I don't like it to be extra full, but I'm going to start the engine real quickly, let it circulate a little bit, and test it again, see if it does drop at all. Okay, let's go ahead and test this again. Wipe it down once, and then put it back in. And it shows let's put it back down for another second. I might have done it too quick. And it shows that it is kind of low. So I'm going to add a little bit more to it. And right there you go, just about 1/2 to 3/4. So we are going to show you how to reset the maintenance little thing on the dashboard, and so I'll show you how to do that right now. So as you can see, it does say maintenance required, and so you want to have the engine set to the trip A, and then while pressing the trip button, you're going to turn the car onto the on position and hold down. And you'll see those dashes, and then it has gone ahead and reset. And so you can go ahead and turn it off, turn it back on, and your maintenance required should go away just like it's supposed to. I do have a door open, seatbelt's not on, and that brake is still on. So we can go ahead and turn that off. Pull the keys out of the ignition. We'll go ahead and jack the car up the rest of the way and pull out those 2 jack stands. And so these jack stands, when they're up, you just go ahead and pull up on this and it drops it down. You can go ahead, put the vehicle down slowly. Pull that back out. Put this back into its holder. And you're all done, ready for the next about 5,000 miles, about what I change mine out with that synthetic blend oil. If you're using full synthetic, I have heard you can go 10,000 miles, but I do not prefer the full synthetic in my vehicles. It's just a preference thing of mine. If this was helpful, please like and subscribe if you haven't done so already. If you do have any questions, go ahead and put it in the comment section below. Make sure you go ahead also and kick out that and release your brake, and you're ready to get back on the road and start driving again in your RAV4. Again, this works for a number of years. I hope it was helpful. Thank you guys so much for watching.